Hello, my Biblio darlings, and welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. In case we haven't met before, let me introduce myself. My name is Mally, and I'm going to be reading you a story today called Little Miss Magic. But before I read the story, let's remind the body that it is safe right here and now. And how are we going to do this? By two different exercises. The first one is we're going to do a deep breathing exercise. We're going to inhale for 4 counts. We're going to hold the breath for 4 counts. And then we're going to exhale the breath for 8 counts. And then secondly, I'm going to read you some jokes. And the whole purpose of my reading you jokes is, well, jokes are fun. But also when you laugh, that act of laughing helps your body to relax. So with that, let's start with a deep breathing exercise and pretend you have a balloon inside your tummy, and let's breathe in and make that pretend balloon bigger. So breathe in for 1, 2, 3, 4, and now hold your breath for and now exhale out for 8. Oh, I don't know about you, but that deep breathing exercise always makes my body feel like, I'm feeling calm, and I'm feeling rested, and I'm feeling safe. And the other way is through jokes and having the body have a nice big belly giggle. So with that, ready? Okay. Knock, knock. Who's there? Saint. Saint who? Sent you an email, but you never responded. Get it? Sent you an email? Sent you an email? Okay. And here's the next joke. Knock, knock. Who's there? Scott. Scott who? Scott, nothing to do with you. It's got nothing to do with you. Alrighty. And here is the last joke of right now. Knock, knock. Who's there? Sharon. Sharon who? Sharon is Karen. Get it? Sharing is caring. Alrighty. Well, that seems to be a really good time to lead into reading Little Miss Magic. Sorry, I was just about to say Little Miss Naughty. But it's Little Miss Magic. Looks like Little Miss Magic, whose hands are right like that, might have also thought that those jokes were really funny as well. And here's what I notice about Little Miss Magic. She has brown hair. She has a green and white bow on the top of her head. And with her hair, it's parted this way, so half of her hair is here, and half of her hair is here. She has beautiful freckles. Oh, I love people with freckles. When I was really young, I wanted freckles, and part of that was there was a character that I loved, and her name was Pippi Longstocking, and she had these freckles, and her hair went out this way, and she had such a great adventurous attitude. She was my hero. But I digress. So Little Miss Magic has freckles, and she has a cute little button nose. And she is smiling, and her hands are by her mouth like this. She has 2 beautiful red shoes. So, let's see Little Miss Magic and what her life is like. Early one morning in the summer, Little Miss Magic awoke in the bedroom of Abracadabra Cottage, which was where she lived. She yawned a yawn and got out of bed. That's an interesting looking house. There's a yellow roof, and there's an awning above the door, and that's yellow. The door is yellow. Looks like there's red brick on the house, on the bottom half of the house, and on the top it looks like it's white, and it's brown, and there's stripes. Looks like there's white clouds, and blue sky, and yellow sun, and there's green grass, and there's a yellow pathway leading into the house and away from the house. And there's trees and grass. Looks like a really neat place to live. Little Miss Magic went to the bathroom to brush her teeth. Oh, I wonder if that's the picture where she's brushing her teeth, where Looks like toothpaste is going on her toothbrush by magic. This is why. Squeeze, she said to the tube of toothpaste. And guess what? The tube of toothpaste jumped up and squeezed itself onto Little Miss Magic's toothbrush. Honestly, Little Miss Magic isn't called Little Miss Magic for nothing. When she tells something to do something, it does it. Oh. She went downstairs to the kitchen. Boil, she said to the kettle, and it did. Toast, she said to the toaster. Spread, she said to the knife, and the knife jumped up and spread some butter over the toast. Pour, she said to the coffee pot, and she sat down to breakfast. Don't you wish you could make things do things like that? I do. That would be so great. She was enjoying a second cup of coffee when there was a knock on the door. Open, she said to the door. And, as it did, there stood Mr. Happy looking exactly the opposite. Look at Mr. Happy. He's not smiling. He's frowning. He looks concerned. Oh, let's see what happens. You don't look like your usual self, remarked Little Miss Magic. What's the matter? Everything, replied Mr. Happy. Come in, have a cup of coffee and tell me about it, she said. Pour, she said to the to the coffee pot. Now, said Little Miss Magic. What is it? Oh, look at them. Two friends talking. That's one of the best things in the whole wide world. It's Mr. Tickle, replied Mr. Happy. He's become absolutely impossible. What do you mean? Asked Little Miss Magic. Well, continued Mr. Happy, he used to go around tickling people every now and then, but now he's going around tickling people all the time. Mr. Happy sighed. Little Miss Magic looked at him. It can't be that bad, she said. It's worse, said Mr. Happy unhappily. Cheer up, she grinned. Come on, she said. After you, said Little Miss Magic to Mr. Happy. Close, she said to the door, and off they set from Abracadabra Cottage. Mr. Tickle was feeling fine. What a morning he was having. He tickled Mr. Mean until he moaned, and Mr. Greedy until he groaned, Little Miss Sunshine until she shivered, and Mr. Quiet until he quivered, and Little Miss Plump until she sobbed. Oh, not to mention a postman, a policeman, the doctor, 3 dogs, 2 cats, and a worm. Looks like Mr. Tickle is on a tickling spree. Aha, cried Mr. Tickle as he spied Little Miss Magic and Mr. Happy. Anyone for tickles? Oh, look, there's his hands, and they're right by Little Miss Magic. And he rushed up to them, reaching out those extraordinary long arms of his, and those particularly ticklish fingers on the ends of them. Little Miss Magic looked at Mr. Happy. I see what you mean, she said, and winked. Oh, what does she have in mind? She pointed at Mr. Tickle's extraordinary long right arm. Shrink, she said. And then she pointed to Mr. Tickle's extraordinary long left arm. Shrink, she said again. And as you remember, when Little Miss Magic tells something to do something, it does it. Look at Mr. Tickle's arms. They're so small now. They're regular size. Mr. Tickle's arms were suddenly not extraordinary long. They were extraordinary ordinary. They were extraordinarily ordinary. Excuse me. That's not fair, he cried. You've spoiled my fun. It might have been fun for you, remarked Mr. Happy, but it wasn't much fun for anybody else. Come and see me tomorrow, said Little Miss Magic to Mr. Tickle. I wonder what will happen the next day. There, she said to Mr. Happy. Happy now? Mr. Happy smiled that famous smile of his. I'll say, he said. Come on, he added. I'll buy you lunch. And off they went to his favorite restaurant, Smiler's. Oh, look at Mr. Tickle. He doesn't look happy, but the worm looks really happy. On Tuesday, Mr. Tickle went to Abracadabra Cottage. He knocked on the front door. "Open," said a voice inside. "Oh, hello," smiled little Miss Magic as the door opened itself. She saw who was standing there. "Come in." "Oh, there's Mr. Tickle, and he's lifting up his hat, and he doesn't look happy." "I suppose you'd like me to make your arms long again," she said. And there's little Miss Magic looking at Mr. Tickle. "Oh, yes, please," said Mr. Tickle. "Very well," she said. Mr. Tickle's face lit up. "On one condition," she added. His face fell. "You are only allowed 1 tickle a day." "1 tickle a day?" said Mr. Tickle. "That's not much." "Promise," said little Miss Magic. Mr. Tickle sighed. "I promise," he said. "Grow," said little Miss Magic, and both Mr. Tickle's arms grew back to their original length. "Now don't forget," she reminded him, 1 tickle a day. "Or else," she added. Mr. Tickle went out through the door. "Goodbye," she said to him. "Shut," she said to the door. Mr. Tickle stood outside little Miss Magic's cottage. "Ah, well," he thought, 1 tickle a day is better than no tickles a day." It was then that he saw that one of the downstairs windows of Abracadabra Cottage was open. 1 tickle a day, he thought. A small smile came to his face. 1 tickle a day, he thought. And on that Tuesday morning, as one of those extraordinary long arms reached through the open window of Abracadabra Cottage, the small smile on the face of Mr. Tickle turned into a giant grin. So I'm guessing what happened is Mr. Tickle used his 1 tickle a day to tickle little Miss Magic. What did you think of that story? It was a really neat story. And I think that Mr. Tickle learned his lesson. I'm hoping so, because otherwise his arms will go from really long to really short. So with that, let us do a deep breathing exercise to remind our bodies that we are safe right now. So we're going to do the exact same breathing exercise that we did before. So inhale deeply for 1, 2, 3, 4. And now hold the breath for And now exhale out for 8. Wow. Oh, it always feels so good just to take in those nice deep breaths. And now let's remind our body that it's also really good to laugh and to release some energy. So I'm going to share with you 3 knock-knock jokes. Are you ready? Knock, knock. Who's there? Shelby. Shelby who? She'll be coming round the mountain when she comes. I really like that. Okay. Here's a second one. Knock, knock. Who's there? Snow. Snow who? Snow use. I forgot my name again. Like no use, but it's snow use. Okay. Let's read the third one. Knock, knock. Who's there? Says. Says who? Says me. That's who. Oh my goodness. Those were 3 great jokes. Well, on that note, it seems like a wonderful place to say it's been wonderful spending time with you today. It really has. Thank you for coming back and hearing another story. And if you've got any adults with you, thank you also for coming back and watching the story with your kids or your nephews or grandchildren. And it's been so wonderful. And I'm hoping that you have a wonderful day. If there's adults with you, remind them. Hit the subscribe button so you can get notifications when there's new stories coming up. And how you'll get the notifications is by pressing on the bell. So with that, it's been wonderful spending time with you. And until next time, bye!